Now we're going to talk about Broadway and beer. How do those interconnect? Well, you got to have the happy hour guys to talk about that. So let's bring on the happy hour guys. All right, there's Squigs. Hey, Squigs.
Hello.
And there's Jimmy, and there's Mark. All right, known as the happy hour guys.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh my, I'd love to have you more. All right. First off, someone tell us, who are the happy hour guys? What is the happy hour guys?
Mark.
Jimmy, I'm having some lag issues, so why don't you go?
All right. So the happy hour guys are a bunch of three guys who are associated with Broadway in one way or the other. Mark and I are Broadway actors. Squigs is an actor of much note, but is also an incredible line artist who does basically draws for every Broadway show under the sun and does amazing work for. He does private. He does private things. He does all sorts of really wonderful things with his art. And Mark and I came together several years ago, and we all got on this project called the Broadway Brews Project. About what year was that, Mark? Was it 4 years ago, 2016?
It was.
We had this idea that we wanted to take our Broadway lives and our beer lives and put them together. And Squigs actually was part of the catalyst that made this all happen. Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, sure. Just let me back up really quick. Mark and Jimmy got together years and years before that,
2006,
while they were touring, and using that opportunity to visit a bunch of different craft breweries and bars around the country. And again, that's the way that they connected their Broadway and their beer loving lives. So yeah, but about 4 or 5, whatever years ago, I saw that there was a brewery in the Bronx here in New York called Gun Hill Brewing that made a beer called Schuyler's American Wheat. And it was named after the Schuyler family. The Schuyler sisters, if you've seen Hamilton, play very prominently in the show. Yep. And so I thought, hey, that'd be kind of cool if they were to make a Hamilton beer. And so that kind of started this idea for this. And then Jimmy took it and ran, and Mark took it and ran, and this is what it is. Jimmy, explain.
And so the idea was that we were going to do, we hoped to make the Broadway 6-pack. So the first show to come on board and do a beer. So the idea was to take the cast and create, between the cast and the brewer, a beer for charity, a one-off beer for charity. And we have done 5 of those beers. So the Hamilton beer was the first one to come out, which was obviously an explosion. People went crazy for it.
Gun Hill Brewing.
With Gun Hill Brewing. So that actually all worked out. And Hamilton, and the press kind of went crazy, and Rolling Stone did a piece on us. And it just really, it kind of went far beyond what we ever thought it would be. And then we just kind of kept rolling. We did School of Rock next. And then after that, we did Waitress. We did a Waitress beer. And then there was the Phantom of the Opera beer, which was amazing. And then we just did the Come From Away beer not long before the shutdown. And we were just about to finish the 6-pack when our friend COVID entered the picture.
So what do you mean they made this beer, and did they make a special label? It was called something different?
All of the above. Each show created a recipe, picked a name, and picked a charity. And then we brewed, the brewery brewed the beer, and then we had a big party. And whatever charity that the cast had picked, the brewer got together, and a portion of the proceeds from that beer were given to that charity as part of the project. And we did that 5 separate times.
So what kind of charities were involved?
Oh, God, some really great ones. The very first one, actually, which was sort of near and dear to our hearts in the Hamilton beer, was a social services organization that is actually an outgrowth of the original orphanage that Eliza Hamilton started in the very early 1800s. It still exists. It's called Graham Wyndham. It's in Brooklyn, and we raise money for them, and we're still raising money for them because the beer is still being brewed.
Ooh. So it's not. It wasn't just like we're going to make 20 cases of this and sell it. It's continuous.
Well, actually, the Hamilton beer is actually still being sold in this little performing arts venue called Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Yeah. And they've also offered it at Trader Joe's and that kind of thing, at least in our area here. So
yeah,
it's City Field as well. Sale at City
That's
Field.
right, and City Field. So
All
it
right.
really. It's gone far beyond what we.
That's so. how are you? You said you're expanding it, expanding the opportunity. So what's happening with that?
Mark, I know you're laggy, but please jump in.
There's been a phenomenon in the craft beer world this year, and many people don't understand that the craft brewing community is very, very charitable. They're very into spreading their success and their fortune to their communities. So over the course of this year, there was something called the All Together beer, where one brewery, it happened to be here in Brooklyn, came up with an open sourced recipe. They put it on the internet. They came up with label art, put it on the internet, and they said, anybody who wants to brew this beer, please do so, and then donate what you can of the proceeds to help hospitality workers who were out of work because of the pandemic. Yeah. Later in the summer, there was another beer that came along, the Black is Beautiful beer, open source recipe from a brewery in Houston, and they did the same thing. They made it available to everybody. There's one right there.
This is the Gun Hill version of the Black is Beautiful beer, and it's delicious.
So they did the same thing, obviously donating money to charities around all of the Black Lives Matter movement that happened over the summer and goes on today. And we, being members of the Broadway community, have watched our industry come to a complete standstill with no end in sight. We have no idea when we'll be able to go back to work. And so we came up with the idea to do the same thing, but to donate money to arts organizations and to a wonderful organization called the Actors Fund, which does not simply support actors. They support anyone involved in the entertainment industry, particularly the live entertainment industry. So we're talking about ushers and stage managers and stagehands and musicians and talent agents. They've given out over now $16 million in direct grants since this started. And we're hoping that breweries, when they come on board, will also find a local arts organization to donate there as well. So that is how we came up with the Curtain Up Beer initiative.
Curtain Up Beer. So this beer is called Curtain Up, and it is not going to be brewed by a single brewery like we have done with other Broadway brews in the past. It's open source, so it can be brewed by anybody in the world. And just since we announced this a little over a week ago, 21 breweries have already signed on. But Amber, you got to help us. There's no Vermont brewery yet.
Okay, and Amber, the style of beer that this beer is, it's a recipe that was created by Gun Hill Brewing, and it is a hazy IPA. It's a genre of beer, a type of beer that really originated in Vermont with Hetty Topper from The Alchemist. It's a little bit lighter on the alcohol content, so it's very drinkable, very flavorful. The hops that are in there are amazing. But yeah, it's fantastic. So we need some Vermont love.
Vermont has more breweries per capita than any place in the world. So we've got to get one. I've been in contact with some arts organizations, so I know they're putting their feelers out there. So I'm sure you're going to have at least one Vermont brewery, if not more. All right, I can't let you guys get away until I ask you. All right, you were Mark and Jimmy, you were on Broadway or you're performing. Give me some roles. Give me some shows you were in.
The last big one that I was in, the last big long-running Broadway show was a little one called Spamalot, which was the Monty Python show. So I did that pretty much the whole way, and it was kind of a life changer. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet. How many years were you in that?
I did 3 years of the Broadway run, and then I left to go to Vegas. I was a standby in the Broadway run, so I covered Lancelot, Robin, Patsy, Prince Herbert, and Bedivere,
and Lady in the Lake.
I left to go to Vegas to do to play Lancelot for the rest of the Vegas run.
So you're understudy, for lack of a better word, understudy for those roles. Yeah. How many times did you get to perform those roles?
Lots and lots and lots.
Wow.
Constantly. Yeah.
So, okay, I'm being nosy here. So you wake up in the morning, do they call you up and say, hey, you're going to do this role? Or do you arrive at the theater and they go, you're on?
It depends. I actually, at that point, was living not far from the Shubert Theater, about 2 blocks away. I don't live that close to the Shubert anymore, but there were actually times during the run where I was, because I was so close, they allowed me to call in and stay home if I wanted to on certain nights. But there were definitely times during the run when my phone rang. I was on my couch in the middle of the show, and the phone rang, and they said, "Get here because at intermission we're putting you in costumes." That happened. Me sprinting down 44th Avenue, the 44th Street to try and get to the Shubert stage door so that I could run and get my costume on.
Oh my God, how exciting! So, Mark, tell me a story.
Well, I actually, when the pandemic hit, I was on the first national tour of My Fair Lady that came from Lincoln Center, and I also was in the closing company of My Fair Lady at Lincoln Center on Broadway. But I've spent most of the last 7 or 8 years in the original Broadway company of Newsies. I was in that show from start to finish, and then I went on the national tour with it, and I was on that from start to finish, including the live stream. Well, it wasn't a live stream, the movie version of it, which is now available on Disney Plus. But so for about 5 years of my life, I was working for the Mouse and doing Newsies.
Mark was not a newsie. He was one of the oldsies.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything. I thought maybe it was a big theater, audience separation or something.
There's no theater big enough for that.
Oh my God, guys! Oh, thank you so much. Let's put those curtain up. Let's put that back up there. So if there's anyone, because we've got people watching from literally now all over the world, and so they might want to get contact with you to raise some money for their local arts organization, as well as for other good causes. Oh my God!
This is one of the highlights of my showbiz career, being on your show. We love this. This is so wonderful. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, okay. Someone's asking, the My Fair Lady production, was that the one Kirsten Anderson was in?
It was indeed. Yes, we worked together for 9 months on that show.
She's a local girl from Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah, yes, she is indeed. And we had another Vermonter in Newsies. So Vermont is very near and dear to my heart. For many,
it really is amazing. From Burlington, Vermont, in the Lyric Theater Company, that's our local community theater, has had many people go on to Broadway and touring companies. It's just, that's how special Burlington is. It just attracts people who have talent. Oh my God! Oh guys, I want to talk to you guys again. So when you come up with another project, let us know.